Okay, I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna blow your mind. And that's this. Not all demons are evil. And I know you're gonna think, oh, did you watch Constantine? No. I'm not saying that the roles are reversed here. No. Because we have a right, okay? For instance, when someone says they're American, true, it's a nationality. But American can look like so many different things. So many different colors, so many different cultures. It's a frickin' rainbow, okay? Different, and they have different jobs, they're individually unique. Spirits are the same way. They are individually unique. Not all of them are the same. Not all of them are what you see. So when you meet a person, what you see is not necessarily what you get. There is a lot under the surface. And someone might seem really attractive or really beautiful, and when you meet them, you find out, oh, they're not all that. Or, oh, they don't really have a beautiful personality. Or, I don't really vibe with them. And there's so much that we don't see. And that's what is so fascinating about paranormal, is here are these entities that do a lot behind the scenes, but we don't see them, we don't know about them, they're beyond our comprehension. And to me, as a little girl, that was like somebody had given me a key to a door, and that door opened to another world, another reality, a multiverse. And that was so much more than who I was, and that there was something else out there was comforting to me, and it was something that I could dedicate my life to. It was something that I could not just escape to, but I could pour myself into, and I could get results. But as you know, we all have conservative backgrounds, and often religious standards and beliefs that sometimes frown upon this paranormal investigating. So for a long time, I was somebody that had ignorance that was driven by fear. Now, ignorance driven by fear is one of the greatest evils I've ever come across. Because this isn't so much an ignorance that you haven't had that experience to gain that knowledge to get through that period of your life. This is the kind of ignorance, it's stubborn, it's willful, it is actually something that people decide often. But also, it is more of a reaction than a response. It doesn't necessarily mean, I'm not going to learn anything about this because I think I'm better and that I know everything. It's more of, this is so terrifying, I don't want to touch this, I don't want to. And I'm going to say, if you're going to have that attitude or that reaction when you come in contact with something that is of a demonic nature, you're going to make yourself a target. Because every demon has a certain agenda. As I said, every spirit is individually unique. There's a variety. So a demon may be in your home right now, okay? A demon may have been across the street, or may have brushed up against you. You may have talked to one. You may have looked at one. You may have, been in the room with one and not known it. The reason is not all of them are necessarily dangerous. It is like a dog. Some dogs, are really terrifying, okay? They're scary. I mean, you've seen Rottweilers. You've seen Cane Corsos. They're scary. But, I'm gonna say, any dog out there can have the potential of biting you. So any dog out there could be potentially dangerous to you. Same thing with demons. But I don't want you to freak out Because this is the thing. If you don't have a team, if you don't have that staunch atheist or that science nerd that's there that's going to stabilize you, you need to be that person. If you don't have a team, you need to be both open, but also, as well as being open, you need to also look at the logical explanations. When I heard ghost stories as a little kid, I would go around and say, okay, what is the logical explanation of this? Is there medication, schizophrenia? Is it a tumor? Is it radiation? What is going on? Black mold? What's going on with this? And if there is nothing that logically and scientifically can explain what happened, then you go to the spiritual, the metaphysical, the things that we cannot explain through science. But there has to be a balance between the two. Another thing is, just because you interact with an angel does not mean you're going to have a good session. Just because you interact with a demon does not mean you're going to have a bad session. And it may be some of this fear has to do with some experience that you've had. And that's understandable. There's no judgment. There's no judgment with that, because I know ignorance driven by fear is not always a choice. Sometimes it's more of a reaction because you don't want to be hurt. You're trying to protect yourself, and I understand that. But fear doesn't always protect you. Fear can get you out of situations, true. If you're in a situation where you're encountering a huge bear, fear might drive you to run. It's going to give you adrenaline. It's going to get you out of there. You're going to be in your flight and fight response. But if you're constantly in that, there is a hormone. It is known as cortisol. Not cortisone, cortisol. Cortisone's a cream. No, cortisol is a hormone that is released when you are in flight or fight response. This kind of goes on the anaerobic side. So when you are at the very end of a race, you're at the end, last lap, whatever, swimming, running, whatever, and you're lagging, oh yeah, and then you pour it all out, and that's when that little, that's kind of what you would be running on if you were to outrun a bear. Cortisol is not good for your brain all the time. Because if you have too much of anything, it's never a good thing. So if you're in a haunted location, and it doesn't matter what device that you're using, and you are terrified, it's making you a target. And you have to remember, each demon has an agenda. Find out what their agenda is. That way, you're not freaking terrified when they say eating energy or destruction, because they're literally just communicating with you. Okay? People get terrified because they're like, oh, I brought in evil spirits. I summoned them. You didn't summon anything. You literally, it's just like you picked up your phone and called a number. You called a number. Are you going to burn your phone because that conversation didn't go well as planned? Are you going to stomp on it, set it on fire, put it in the garbage, and then bury it? No, it's freaking expensive, okay? Plus, some of my spirit boards, I'm just saying, yeah, some of them might not have been that priceless, but gosh, that's money. That's throwing money away. So, not logically. It's not logical. Another thing is, fear clouds your judgment. Fear clouds your judgment. It does not make you think straight. I don't know if you've seen people that freak out when there's a bee. And they're like, you know, and they're freaking out. That's understandable. I used to do that myself. But then I got to just doing this. I would just sit very still. Just sit very still. I would calm my mind, and eventually the bee would go away. Now, yeah, so if you were to scream and yell, and let's say that you went to someone's home and you started screaming and yelling because, just for a very small reason, we don't have to give a reason, Is someone going to be around, want to be around that? No. So they're going to a demon will either say, yes, this, I have you right where I want you, or they'll say, that's just like too much drama for me. And you're freaking out because you're thinking, oh, they're going to possess me, they're going to possess me. And the demon is going, I don't want to possess you. You're more trouble than you're worth. You are, yeah. And it has, have you ever tried to talk to someone that is hysterical? Otherwise, they're sobbing and crying, and you can't talk to them. So you're not going to have a good conversation, because first of all, they're going to be either they're going to be put off by that, or they're going to take advantage of it. Either way is not really a good thing. Most likely what's going to happen is they're going to be put off by it, because they may have wanted you to be fearful, but if you are flipping the F out, they're not going to be able to do anything. Possessing you is going to be the least of your problems at that point, because you are so hysterical and so reactionary at that point. They're going to just like, no. No. How about no? That's what they're going to do, because they're not going to like that kind of thing. And it's just important to know what a demon is about. Like, ask them. Just ask them. They say, what brings you here? Now, if you are in their space, that is their home. You treat it as such. You treat it as their sacred space. But if they are in your home, you make the rules. Okay? Now, there's this debate of like, oh, but a demon is always evil, and it's always that is based on spiritual beliefs, yes, and beliefs are beliefs. They aren't necessarily what's really going on. So if you believe something, I'm not gonna say, oh, that's wrong. No, I might say, well, this is what I believe, and I'll accept what you believe, because it's your belief. It's beautiful. Now, if you expect me to believe what you believe, it's kind of pushing it. It's like expecting me to be like you. I'm not going to be like you, because I am a unique individual. And spirits are the same way. Spirits all have certain agendas. Some of them are rogue, which means they don't have anything to do with Satan. They really aren't interested in possessing anybody. And they don't like confrontation often, because confrontation means drama. It means more trouble. And if you think about it, I don't know if any of you have had experiences with mental illness or having an overactive imagination. You have all those little voices in your head. That is what it probably is like for a demon. They're going to have to, in order to possess you, first of all, they have to find a right person for that. And that's more work. Secondly, you're going to have to wear that person down to get inside their head, to get inside of them. And hopefully, they maybe, if they're lucky, they might get permission, but that's not what possession is really about. So, and also sometimes there's only so much time that they can be there. So it's a process, and it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work. And the only reason we hear about these horror stories about this is because of horror films, and the fact that the internet just likes to show us only the morbid side of life. It's never, oh, I had this really nice conversation with my Ouija board, or I had a session with tarot cards that was really interesting. It's never really, it's never put in a positive light, which is unfortunate. So, you don't have to befriend a demon. You don't have to be friends with them. You don't have to have a connection or a rapport or a chemistry, but you do need to have an agreement with them, a understanding. Set some rules. Say, if you're going to be here, you do not mess with my family. If I'm here with you, do not follow me home. Make an understanding, earn their respect, and give them respect. Because a demon, if you believe in the traditional demon, they've been here since the beginning of time. Okay? And to underestimate them is And ignoring them is just as dangerous as engaging with them. I have seen people get objects they thought were possessed or something, and they're like, they just throw it somewhere, and they don't look at it. No, because it's freaking possessed. Oh no, the devil is going to possess me. So they put it in a room, leave it there. Okay, hey, that sounds like a great way to spend my time. I mean, if I was a kid and somebody said, go to your room, yay! But this is a demon. This is not a child. And if it has been around a child, it's going to have childlike behaviors. It's going to emulate that. And you're forgetting this is a demon. It's not a child. You're not putting a child in time out and saying, okay, you go over here until you figure out what you've done wrong. The demon is going to go, excuse me? I live here. I exist. You do not see me and you do not hear me and you are ignoring me, and it is pissing me off. So do not ignore a demon. If you know that there's a demon or an entity in your home, acknowledge it right away, because I have seen frickin' poltergeist. Okay, a lot of that stuff in the horror movies take with a grain of salt, but there are some things that are actually pretty right on, and one of them is Poltergeist, the movie with Heather O'Rourke and Craig T. Nelson, and so it's one of those. Did that situation get any better because they shut the door and just forgot about it? No, it got worse, and it progressively gets worse. Because they tried different things. They were like, okay, let's just ignore it. Maybe it'll go away. It didn't go away. It doesn't go away. And if you ignore someone, just think of the ignoring bit. I've experienced being ignored. It's not fun. Think of ignoring. When you ignore someone, it is a kind of neglect. Neglect is a kind of abuse. You don't want to do that to a demon. Do you want to abuse a demon? No, don't. Don't do that. This isn't a child that you're talking to. This is a powerful entity that could very well overpower you, and the fact that they're not is a freaking miracle. And do not think that you are exempt, or that you somehow I've seen people that have this superiority of, like, that they have these certain beliefs, therefore a demon can't touch them. I'm gonna say a lot of things just because you have a certain belief, okay? Okay, you believe in Jesus. I do too, okay? But so does a demon. So does a demon. Demon believes in Jesus. It actually says that in the Bible. It says in James. Look it up if you don't believe me. That is actually what... Yeah. So don't think for a moment that you, because the fact that this is demon, that you, and you're a good guy, that you're somehow superior, okay? You don't need to be that demon's equal. You do not need to oppress it, but at least give it respect, because if you do not, they will disrespect you. Demons treat people accordingly at times. If you disrespect them, they'll disrespect you. If you do not set boundaries for them and tell them, this is what I need, this is what I don't need, this is what I want, and this is what I don't want. But also be conscientious of where you are. If you're at home, you can set the rules. That's your space. That is yours. You can live in harmony with demons. It is possible. You don't have to worship them. You don't have to set up an altar for them. You don't have to put, you don't have to do any of that. But I'm just going to say, you don't want confrontation. They probably don't want confrontation either. It's a bit like a spider, okay? When I see a spider out on my walk, I go, oh, hi little guy, let me avoid you. But when a spider is on my bed, I'm gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna go find the flamethrower. Maybe I'm gonna go grab a shotgun that I probably don't even have. I'll go find one. Um, maybe I'll grab my knife and stab it a couple times. I don't know. It depends. I may bring out my chainsaw and use it. I'm totally joking. I don't have any of those things. But, yeah. I'm gonna get rid of it. So it's a different story. If you're in their territory, follow their rules. Don't do everything that they want. Just be respectful. If they are in your home, they need to respect your rules. That is your home. But if they were there before you, give respect, okay? I do not at any time think, well, they're a demon and they turn their back on God, so why should I respect them? You know that little old lady that rocks back and forth on the porch, and you know how they say respect your elders, and there used to be a time where that was a thing, but there's a certain aspect to that. I do believe that is still relevant to today. I don't think sometimes it's not relevant when it comes to like an abusive family member. Yeah, you can respect people from a distance. You don't necessarily have to hug that abusive family member. Same thing with a demon. You do not have to give them anything, do anything that you don't feel comfortable with. And especially if they're asking you some really weird things, you know. And just be honest, communicate, say, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I would never do that. I'm not your minion. Say it as neutrally as you can. Be calm, be chill. If you can, just be yourself, be goofy. Say a few jokes here and there to make yourself less intimidating, because never assume that because a demon is a demon that they're just going to be mean for no reason. Okay, if you're minding your own business and you're going on your way and there's a demon right there and you're not doing anything, they probably won't do anything to you. You don't see them, you don't hear them, you might not even notice that they're there. Do you think that they're just going to attack you because you're crossing the street or something? No. But there's an exception for everything. Yes, there might be a demon out there that's going to make destruction and is going to cause chaos no matter what you do. But there are exceptions for everything. They're not all like that. Humans have variety. They have variety. There are some angels that don't necessarily look like angels, because one of the things is it's really hard for spirits to show themselves. And I think when I first was able to capture some of my spirit guides, it was terrifying, because it was like I would look at my phone and I would be like, going, oh, that's so, ooh. And you have to know that it is technology, it's flawed, and you're asking them to utilize technology that is flawed. You're gonna get some weird responses. Whether you're using technology, you're using a Ouija board, things aren't always gonna be clear. Some things won't make sense when the first time. Sometimes things will be jumbled up because you didn't have the right energy. Maybe every equipment, unless it's a complete scam or it's just something that's like a money pool, you the only thing that's saving grace for it is to pay for no ads. Yeah, it's not always going to be clear. And also with radiation, electrical interference, and power lines and that kind of thing, they're going to interfere with that, so you might have a problem sometimes. And it's not that you're bad or you're wrong or they're bad or whatever. Sometimes in some of my sessions there's one app which I absolutely love, called Paravox, and I use that on my phone. And that, for instance, every once in a while, when I'm at home, it will say 666. And now, yeah, there is a possibility that it picked up like some evil entity or darker entity and picked that up. That's quite possible. But my logical explanation, instead of freaking out and going, "I was a demon," I go, that was probably was a false trigger. That was a false trigger. That was not you, obviously. And if you're talking to one spirit, you're not necessarily going to be talking to the spirit that you want to, because sometimes spirits will come in and they'll be like, "Oh, you're talking? I know you. I want to talk with you." And then sometimes spirits, if it's some sort of a demonic entity, they're going to want to talk. I mean, just demons are selfish and they don't care if they're talking over. But if it's an angel or a benevolent spirit guide of some sort that's assigned to you, they're going to say, hey, you know what, I think you need to talk to so-and-so. Or I need to go, I need to do something else. Or maybe another angel might talk to another angel and say, you know what, I think I'm going to give the mic over to you. You're going to, or I think they should talk to me. They're going to give you what you need, not necessarily what you want. Don't ever think that things are going to work out exactly the way that you've planned them. You can plan for things. They're not going to always work out. That's just life. That's just life. And it's in a different realm, in a different plane of existence. So to interact with you is a miracle within itself. So be thankful, be grateful, be respectful. Understand that there's variety and exceptions in every area, and every spirit has a unique agenda and a unique personality and unique preferences. Sometimes they might prefer one device over the other. Take precautions. Take precautionary measures, which means when you come in there, find out who you're talking to. Find out the name. Say, hey, can you give me a name? Maybe you can give me a hint or a clue. Some spirits will like to play riddles with you. They'll play little riddles and they'll be like, okay, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And, or sometimes they'll just outright say it. I've had experiences with Paravox where I'll just be like, okay, I'm here, blah, 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 demon. I'm like, okay, thank you, great. Now I know what you are. So, this is something that I've incorporated recently, is asking them what brings them there, and if they have come into your comfort area, your home or whatever. It's interesting to ask them why they're there, and if they're in a location, ask them what brought them there. Like, what brought you here? Why are you here? Think of it as an interview. Think of it as an interview. It's like, okay, I really want to know your story. But then there's always that stigma of like, well, it's a demon, why would you want to know their story? Excuse me, how many people are fascinated by the stories of serial killers? How many people are fascinated by certain evil historical figures? I'll let you use your imagination there. And these are horrible, horrible people. So, why would you want to know about that? Because it's interesting. It's a fascinating thing, because you're getting a viewpoint about something you haven't had before. And there's a psychological thing about it. It's something psychological that's interesting to you. It's interesting. What drove them to do those things? What did them? Now, not everybody is interested in that. And if that's your preference, that's your preference. But, instead of acting in anger and saying, well, I wouldn't do that, so why are you doing? I'm doing this because I want to. You're not doing this because you don't want to. So, it's okay for you not want to do what I do, okay? I protect myself. I'm responsible. I do the things that I need to. I am not going in. I'm not breaking and entering. I'm not doing anything that I shouldn't. I am respectful to the wildlife. I am respectful to everyone, to the people, to the laws of the land, and I am respectful to the spirits that I speak with. I make it as chill as I possibly can, and I try not to freak out. I might get a little nervous when I hear something that's a little bit creepy. I might get creeped out. But never in my life have I thought, okay, let's run. And I understand that feeling of like wanting to leave a location. There's been some locations that I've wanted to leave. But when you work through it, that's the thing. When you do paranormal investigating, it's not that you're not going to be afraid. Okay? Fear is just natural. But fear overcoming you to the point where you can't think straight may be a problem. So if you ever feel that your fear is at such a heightened state that you cannot think straight and you feel sick, maybe you feel like you're having a panic attack, please leave that area. Don't push yourself into that, because when you are fearful, you are very vulnerable. You're very open to suggestions, and any and everything will be a big deal to you. You know, that's why people, when they see like something move, they're already in that heightened state. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being scared. It's natural to be scared. You see a dark face, you see a pale face in the darkness, it's terrifying. But just relax. Don't allow yourself to go into that state. Prevent it before it happens, because things will not go well. They will not go well if you are in that state already. If you're in that state already, then you are going to find that it is very dangerous. So that's one of those things. Another thing is just be you. Don't be anybody else. Don't have an attitude. Don't try to be superior or act like you are. That's not going to go over well. You don't need to surrender. You don't need to have that. You don't need to be submissive. Be assertive, but be calm. You're going to have anxiety, but true bravery is not so much not being scared. True bravery is going through your fear and overcoming it. Being fearful, but then also just staying where you are. If you don't feel that you're being threatened, if you don't feel you're in danger, you can stay where you are. And if an entity asks you to leave and is being aggressive to the point where you know you're not going to get anything done, you respect that wish. Respect them. Do not expect them to be open to talking to you. But if it's better, if there's a spirit that's reluctant, just look at them and say, okay now, you know what, this is an interview. We're going to be interviewing you. This is what I need to, I'm just going to talk to you. Make it as easy going as you possibly can, and just be as unintimidating as you can. Don't do anything to provoke them. Don't walk on eggshells. Just make it to where it's natural, and eventually these anxieties and things will subside. The fears will subside, because once you connect with that spirit, whether it's demonic or angelic or benevolent or malignant, you will find that there's a connection, that there's an understanding, and things will be easier for you because you know. And often demons they retaliate or they attack because they feel threatened. They feel that you're going to threaten them. Let them know right away. Like, say, I am not here to violate your privacy. I am not here to tell you to leave. I am not here to disrespect you. I am here to be polite and respectful, and this is like an interview. If you do not want to talk to me, you do not have to. That's all you need to say. You don't have to Just let them know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and let them know what your attitude is when you first come there. You don't always have to plan everything. You don't have to do what I say. These are suggestions. You can just throw all these suggestions out the window and say I'm freaking crazy, which is fine. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with my mental illness. Are you? So yeah. I hope you all have a beautiful, blessed day.